So what we're going to do now is talk about composition. What we're going to do now is talk about composition and rule of thirds. So let's start with this image, and right here we're going to talk about composition. So composition, what is it? What does it mean? We're going to duplicate it as well, file to work with. Composition is essentially the way in which your photo, art, illustration is composed. Now, there's different ways of composing an image, and there's different rules as to how and why you would do it in such a way. But there's a couple of easy things that you can remember. Now, the one composition that you have is a two-shot. You've got a triangular composition. So we're going to get into just a couple different ones for you. So the first one, we're just going to do a two-shot composition. Let's set that for later. Two-shot comp. And then let's make another duplicate, and then let's call one a triangular. Now, let's talk about this image right here. So what makes this image really bad? Number one is going to be the headroom. Now, what is wrong with too much headroom? Well, it's pretty obvious. We're focusing way too much attention on the top here. So for this image, there's too much headroom over my head. It's just an old photo of me and my godson. And let's see another one here. And again, the other issue is that there's too much space on the right side. So we've got that, and then there's too much, bad lead space. So lead space is going to be the space on your image in which your eyes are directing to. So for us looking at the image, there's all this room on the right that doesn't have to be there. In fact, if you're going to compose this image properly, what you want to do is direct attention towards one subject or the other, especially in a photo for photography. So what we're going to do is, let's just see if we can do a view here. Let's see here. Let's add a new vertical guide. So to give you an idea, we would want to see up until this point, maybe right here. Because again, it's talking about story and whatnot. And another one, let's talk about the top portion, which we just did too. So let's add one of those as well. So here, let's just go to view. Let's add a new guide. Let's make it horizontal. Okay. So now we can just add this, and we probably want to add an image to about here. So if you were going to print this off or use this as somewhat of a family video, I would crop it up until that point. So if we hit crop, we could bring this down. It'll hit our guides. And that gives us a little estimation. Now, even within this crop, you could see our composition, which is represented in squares, which is pretty good. It actually helps you compose in quite a bit. So let's just crop a little bit more. Let's just give us a little bit more space to use. Yeah, just out like that. And then if we hit enter, now, as you can see, once we, here, we'll open up this one, but as you can see, this image already is much better to the eye. So now you can see our image compared to before, it is much better already. Now, say you wanted to compose the shot where there's proper headroom, which we're starting to get. So as you can see right here, if I could just add some sort of directional tool here, you can see this kid's eye, which is Ty. He's looking towards me. Now, that's important. You want to play with that. So what I would do when it comes to composition, I would add some lead room, meaning lead room towards the left side to give him room to look over to the left. It's a simple way to draw attention for photos. So again, I don't want too much headroom, but I do want enough. So already with a photo like this, now we are connected in that sense. There's a bit of a connection there. So you can see him looking across me. Instead of before, there was just so much room where you were like, where do I look? So the picture is telling its own story in that sense. So again, here's another photo. This is from a different film that I made, and this was shot in anamorphic. So the composition, sorry, this was cropped to look like 235 anamorphic. That's a different story. But as you can see, just in the framing alone, here, let's add that again. We are doing a single shot here, and I would argue that this photo does have a little bit of lead room towards the left, like just a little bit, but in the sense we're going for something more of you know, a single shot to make us feel like we're just connecting with the character. So when it comes to a shot like this, it's really important to think about the story and what's happening. In the next frame, she turns towards the right and heads over the other way, and the camera is actually coming up. So photos is going to be a little bit different. Now, one thing I do like about this shot is that there's not too much headroom. You feel like you're right there. But again, there is quite a bit of room on the right side, but there's a reason for that, because you wanted to get a sense of feel for the space. But if you're going to crop the shot, I would have it set where perhaps her eye is nearing this corner, basically towards the end of the right side of the frame. And if we do that, that's going to give a nice amount of lead room towards the left. Photo, video, everything is just practical. That's the eye direction. Everything is pointing towards the left. Now, if we went back and did it the other way, I find that composition style doesn't work out that well. However, if you wanted to make her feel as if things were uncomfortable, as if she was, you know, not in the right head of space or something, or if somebody was, you know, weirdly creeping on her over here, then again, you would have this direction of, hey, like, I feel like I'm looking this way, or somebody is out that way. And that's all about direction. It's all about story and kind of what is happening. The other one you could do, again, is just going to be a single composition. You could just make this more of a, you know, a tight shot, like a close-up shot, and have her more center framed. And if we do that, let's crop this a little bit better at the top. Here, we'll even go up a bit. But if you were to do a composition like this, you feel right in there. And again, it's a very effective use of composition. So now there's pretty much just whatever's in front of you. That's the way you're going to want to feel. A lot more symmetry in something like that. Although this, I find, fits the composition a little bit better. Again, maybe a little bit too much on the right side here. So if we were to move this over, this works very well as well. It gives you a sense of direction towards, you know, the right to left. What you do have with a composition like this is that you have a character in one corner, and then you have something happening in another. And then again, you could have a character coming in, or you know, an object coming in from the sky in the top left, and that's going to give you direction because our lead room is from right to left. It helps draw your attention. So even in something as simple as a photo, you get a sense of what's happening. We're looking more towards the hand now because that's where the character is looking, and that's the way in which it's composed. We're composing the image, so our attention is either here or basically looking around this direction. So again, we have smoke coming out as well, and there's different ways that you can go about doing this. But this is definitely one really effective way of thinking about composition. Again, you could just hit this crop tool. Now I can't even seem to find it. But if you hit the crop tool, you will see this, and you could add it to other photos as well. Even this image, we can go here again and understand the composition. If I were to just compose high, obviously the resolution wouldn't be good. But, you know, if you're going to make a wallet size photo, you could add this composition. And again, you're creating somewhat of a triangle. That's another composition that you can work with, but depends on what you have to work with, right? But just something like that would be a nice little image as well. So we'll see you in the next video, and best of luck.